We should be live now. You should all be able to see me and hear me, which is great. So we will give it a second to see who is on their way in. And see a couple of you at the top. Just let me know at the side who we have, and we'll give it a minute or two and see who we can get in before we start. Hopefully you've all been practicing everything that's been sent out. The last couple of lessons I've sent to some of you who've had quite a lot of content in. Hi Ben. So yeah, the last couple of videos I've sent to some of you have had quite a lot of content in. Just trying to get as much to you as possible. We are looking at returning one-to-ones soon, which is next month. You should all be being contacted. So any year 6s that I've got in here, I know there's a couple of you, you'll be contacted regarding whether you want to move to one-to-ones with me at one of our sites, Milford or Hazelmere. Any one-to-ones that are in here, you should have been contacted, letting you know that we are returning next month at the Music Works building. I'm heading down there tonight to have a look and see what we've put in place. We're making sure it's as safe as possible to return to. There should be minimum about 3 or 4 meters between teacher and student, and everything will get wiped down at the end. And we're hoping we can run a one-way system. Everything's sectioned off into 2-meter lines, so no one will be any closer than 2 meters to one another. We're aiming for 3 wherever possible for minimum, but I'm going to head down there, check it out tonight, so that we can see what it'll be like going forward for those of you that will be moving to one-to-ones, or those of you that are already in one-to-ones with me. Schools, it's looking like September, but we can't say for definite. We haven't really heard anything about that yet. But out of school visitors will be the last thing to return to schools, I can only imagine. So whether it's September or not, I can't say for definite, but fingers crossed it's September and we can get back to some proper lessons. I've been enjoying making the content. It's definitely helped me. Hopefully it's been helping all of you. I've enjoyed making the content. I've enjoyed doing this. I'm pretty sure this here will be our last YouTube live session. As far as I'm aware, if for anyone who joins on to lessons throughout summer, I'm pretty sure we will be switching from YouTube Live over to Zoom groups. So everybody receiving that same lesson will be on a Zoom group together where I can share the screen with you so that you can watch other people playing, you can watch me playing, we can get live questions, I can watch you all practicing. So I think that's going to be a definite improvement from YouTube Live. So if you are going to sign up for summer lessons and run the lessons through summer, whether it's carrying on with lessons as normal or if you want to have a little bit of a change and play some songs. So Ben, you mentioned a couple of Foo Fighters songs in one of our last streams. So if that's something you'd be interested in, I can definitely teach stuff like that to you. So just let us know. Hopefully we'll get all of you signed up. That would be amazing. But I understand that it's not always ideal. So yeah, so it looks like that's all we're going to get in. Maybe numbers will jump up a little bit. But today I was going to talk about a little bit, carry on from last lesson, but also a little bit more simple, but a little bit more advanced as well. So starting simple, when we were looking at our exercises last week, we were looking at creativity within Coca-Colas so that we were moving different parts of our Coca-Cola to toms and not just sticking to one Coca-Cola per drum, for example. And that's a really, really good example. I know, Ben, you sent a video to me, which I'm going to respond to hopefully tonight. You were doing really, really well with those kind of ideas. I've seen a couple of videos from other people as well playing around with them, which is really, really great to see. So today we're going to talk about bringing the bass drum into our playing a little bit more, so into our fills, because at the minute we use it in our grooves a lot, but we don't really look at it in terms of fills. So if I move back a little bit so that I'm on my kit, So we've got our bass drum down here, and what we have to not forget is that we can play anything we play with our hands on our bass drum as well. If we wanted to play Coca-Colas on a bass drum, it would take a little bit of practice, but you can definitely play Coca-Colas on the bass drum. It just takes a little bit of practice to get that speed up. It's something that comes over time, but a little bit more simple than that. We can replace teas and coffees, or half of a coffee, for example. So if we had coffee, tea, and we replaced all of our teas with a bass drum, we could do that. Or we can replace coffees. Or we can do our exercises from last live stream, so where we were looking at the different accents within Coca-Colas. So I know a couple of you asked for the sheet that I had shown in our live stream last YouTube live. So if anybody wants a copy of that, I can email that across. That's not a problem. So the first four, we're looking at the 4 separate notes of a Coca-Cola. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Change match. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's our 4 hits there. We were looking at moving the first hit, Coca-Cola, or the second, Coca-Cola, or the third, Coca-Cola, or the fourth, Coca-Cola. And we were looking at moving those. We did look at moving 2 hits, 3 hits, all of the hits to toms within that last YouTube live session. But what we can look at is also moving them to our bass drum. So if I switch back again, just get that in there. So for example, moving the very first hit of our Coca-Cola, instead of playing it in our right hand, we could play it with our bass drum. Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola. And that on its own would make a really good change to a fill. So we could use 4 Coca-Colas, and instead of going, we could go, and it adds another voicing and then just a little bit more creativity to a fill that is just using 4 of the same pattern. So within context, so that's our normal one without moving to the bass drum at all. And that's the one moving our bass drum onto that first hit. And it just sounds a little bit more advanced, even though it's not really that difficult. We're just moving 1 hit, which we're used to doing in our right hand because we got used to moving it onto the toms. So we got used to moving them onto our toms. So now we're just removing that hand, putting it on our bass drum. And we can do that with all of them. So we could move the second hit. And we can do it with the third hit as well. And the fourth hit. And all of the others, so we were moving like the first 2, for example. Now that's going to take a little bit of practice because we've got those 2 bass drums in a row. And we're used to playing 2 bass drums in a row in some of our grooves. But those are at the speed of coffees, and at the speed of Coca-Colas in context with a groove like that is going to be quite quick. And that would be moving the last 2. So looking at the sheet that I gave you all last week, if anyone didn't get it and wants it, please let me know and I can send that. You could work through all of those different ideas, moving each accent to our bass drum as opposed to a tom, for example. And that would really, really help our creativity within fills, and it would free us up. It would help us build our independence a little bit. You could do exactly the same thing with the left side if you were feeling daring, but that's going to be a really, really tricky thing to do because we're moving our left leg instead of our right leg, which isn't really used to playing independently to everything else. It kind of just keeps our hi-hats closed at the minute because none of you in this group have really looked at opening our hi-hats yet. So our left foot won't really have that independence the same as our right foot will, because we're used to our right foot playing in all of our grooves. But you could, for example, move the first one. And keep that left foot going on those. Didn't get the sheet from last week. I will send it out again. Hopefully it will reach you. I know I did ask them to forward it to you, Ben, but I will double check. I will pop it in an email straight away after this. And then when I head to the Music Works tonight to check out the building, I'll double check, make sure it's definitely gone to you. But hopefully you saw it in last week and hopefully you got something from it over the last week. But I'll double check, make sure you definitely get that this week. Same as moving the first hit, we can move the second, third, or fourth, which would be second one, or the third, or the fourth, which is quite a tricky exercise because, like I say, our left side isn't used to moving as independently from the rest of our limbs as our right foot is. But it's definitely a good exercise to work on because over time we're going to have to start bringing in our left foot for certain things, whether it is to open and close our hi-hats within a groove. So, for example, something like this. I've moved my snare drum now, but it's fine. Whether it's a groove like that or something more simple. Or eventually anything that is building our left side is always going to help us. But for those of you that maybe aren't quite as comfortable moving our right foot within Coca-Colas, we can definitely replace teas and coffees. So whether we're just replacing all of the teas in a pattern, so tea, coffee, coffee, tea, like that, for example. Or maybe we want to replace all the coffees, so tea, coffee, tea, coffee. And we'll be able to do it like that as well. And just moving those around the drums and keeping our bass drum on whichever word we want is going to allow us to be a little bit more creative with the fills we make. Because a lot of us at the minute, we've got tea, coffee, Coca-Cola, and our rests. And I know some of you have looked at lemonades and black currants as well. You could definitely move it around within black currant. Say, like in our last lessons, say we were moving the first hit of a black currant, black currant. You could move it with the bass drum, black currant, black currant, black currant, black currant. And that would give us another sound to put onto our kit as well. And even moving between cymbals, so black currant, currant, black currant, black currant. Or maybe you want to just start putting a bass drum underneath with a cymbal. So we get used to replacing the first hit with a bass drum, for example, black currant, black currant, black current, black current. And then let's put a cymbal with that bass drum now. Crash, current, crash, current, crash, current, crash, current. And it's going to allow us to make different patterns and be really, really creative behind the kit without learning anything else necessarily. We've got the same patterns. We're playing the same patterns that we've been learning for the last few months, some of them since our very first lesson, so tea and coffee, for example, but moving those to our bass drum now, and even our left foot in some circumstances, like that can be really, really tricky. That alone could take a really, really long time to focus on. So maybe you've gone through all of the content that I've sent you that week and you go, okay, well, let's challenge myself. And let's just say that one of the fills we used within that lesson or something you've been looking at in the past, okay, well, let's just put our bass drum on one of those hits, or let's put our left foot now on one of those hits. And all of it's going to develop to more independence with our legs, which is always really, really helpful because they're often overlooked as part of drumming. Right foot kind of sits on the bass drum, holds our bass drum down whilst we're grooving, and our left foot kind of doesn't really do anything at the moment. But all of these things, if we allow our legs to become more independent from our hands. So for example, playing paradiddle, one thing that I really like to do warming up, and one thing that I brought up when I was doing my training with Yamaha for this job, I did one of these as one of our warm-ups, and all of us as teachers in that room, we did it and we were like, okay, well, that's actually quite difficult. It's a really basic idea, but actually getting it fluent is actually quite difficult. So a paradiddle, so we got a right hand, left hand, right hand, right hand, left hand, right hand, left hand, left hand. What we can do is we play our right hand and then we play our right foot, and then we play our left hand, left foot, two rights, left, right, and two lefts. See, even there I was tripping up. So I put onto the kit, it makes a little bit more sense. Now, a paradiddle, most of us have been practicing for a very long time. A few of you looked at it a couple of lessons ago, but you've all covered what a paradiddle is. So we know that that's right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. So realistically, if we know the pattern, we can play it in our hands, then we should be able to play it with our feet as well. Not necessarily straight away, not necessarily as easily as it comes in our hands, because we're kind of used to our hands moving independently from one another now. But if we moved it into our legs, it's going to free our legs up and allow us to do a lot more things on the kit, especially when we get to a higher level. So if there's any questions at all, with this being, I'm pretty sure the last YouTube live that we're going to do before we move it over to the Zoom groups. So the idea behind that is will be probably just like a little 15-minute session with each group. So maybe split this group here that usually comes onto this YouTube live session, split up maybe into 4 smaller groups, and we would go over your progress within the week, and any videos you send in that you want showing off to the rest of your group, we can, which is going to be a really, really great addition. But yeah, with this being the last YouTube live, if anyone's got any questions at all, just put them in the side and I'll get those answered for you. If not, we will leave it here for now. And hopefully we'll start returning back to normal really, really soon. And I'll get to see you all again and we'll get to play some drums properly, which will be really, really good. So I'll give it a second, see if anybody wants to ask any questions at all. If not, we'll leave it here. Thanks for the YouTube lives. No worries, Ben. It's nice to see people like yourself who come on every single week. They never miss a week. Bye. I will see you soon. I'll respond to that message as well with a video, hopefully tonight, so you'll get some feedback on that. Yeah, like I was saying, it's really nice to see people returning back every single week. The numbers definitely dropped from day 1 onwards, and I totally understand. Some weeks it's kind of like, okay, well, there's nothing really that we need to cover this week, but we're going to go on and get some questions possibly from some people. I know at the start there was loads and loads of questions about what kit to buy, heads, cymbals, sticks, everything like that. And once everyone had kind of got the idea of what they needed for home practice, a couple of people carried on, and Ben, I've seen you every single week, and a couple of others I've seen pretty much every single week, which is really, really great to see. And it's great to see you all practicing as well. But hopefully with the new Zoom calls, it's going to make it a whole lot easier to kind of understand where you're all at. There goes a stick. So understand where you're all at. Some of you have been practicing every single day for at least 20 minutes, if not more, which is brilliant. It's definitely what we need to start progressing. Some of you, the motivation's gone a little bit, which is totally understandable. We've all been stuck in, I think it's about 100 days as of yesterday, I think, since we locked down, which is a really, really long time. 100 days without going about life like normal, it's definitely easy to kind of end up in a bit of a rut and not wanting to practice, or not really feeling like it's maybe worth practicing at the moment. But I know a lot of you are, which is absolutely brilliant. I'm trying to practice more at the minute, which I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed being able to play like I did when I was younger. Um, when I was like 13, 14, I was playing a good like 4 or 5 hours a day. Not at home, obviously, that would annoy everyone. Um, but yeah, at my own practice space, I was playing a lot. It's been nice to get back to playing a lot. Um, but yeah, we should be returning back to normal soon, which will be perfect. Get you all on a proper kit if you haven't had a chance to play one as well. So we will leave it here for this week, guys. Like I said, probably the last YouTube live. Any of you that have signed up for summer, I shall see you um, in our Zoom chats, and enjoy, guys. Thank you very much.